welcome back to Asia Prime. Indonesia's presidential election will be held in the year 2024. However, the political atmosphere has begun to warm up this year. Several survey institutions have released their data with familiar names such as Prabowo and new figures such as Ganjar Pranowo, Ridwan Kamil, Puan Maharani, and Anies Baswedan. Jokowi's presidential style has been considered to be a new standard for creating a government that is oriented towards infrastructure development and human resources.
To talk more about this, joining us tonight on Asia Prime is Bapak Jayadi Hanan, Executive Director of LSI, Indonesian Survey Institute. Good evening, Pak Jayadi. Thank you for joining us. Now, the results of a survey of several institutions show new faces, new names. We have Ganjar Pranowo, Ridwan Kamil, and such, but also an old-timers. Prabowo Subianto is also there. So it's still early. We still have like 2.5 years, 3 years to go. But which figure do you think, as we speak, will the voters likely to choose?
Thank you, Rob and Amanda. If you look at the result of the national surveys during the last 2 years, it seems that our voters are not making up their mind yet. Yeah, you look at the electability of the, let's say, top 3 of the names that you have mentioned, Prabowo, Ganjar, and Anies. They are all at the level of 15 to 20% of support from the national voters. That means the difference between them is still very slim, meaning that all 3 candidates are not there. None of them are considered the front runner yet. That's why I think the political atmosphere will still be warming up, even the situation is the timing is a bit early, but you know, in politics there is no such thing too early. If you're a politician, if you are running for office, especially running for national office like the presidency, timing is always short for you.
Pak Jayadi, you mentioned the people have not made up their minds yet. Now, with the figures that Ralph has mentioned, we have figures who are more involved with national politics, such as Prabowo, Anies, or Puan, who have been on the national stage before, as opposed to those who are strong with the local base supporters, such as Ganjar, Ridwan Kamil, and Ibu Hovifah. Now, how do you view these opposing characteristics in terms of the gaining popularity of the people?
Track record or former or past performance of these candidates is one of the factors that will be considered by the voters. All of the names that we are seeing now at the top 3 or top 5 or top 6, they are all having a track record, both at the national level, like Prabowo, or at the local level, like Ridwan Kamil or Hovifah. But historically speaking, both types of candidates can be considered as the competitive candidates in the national election, like presidential election. Remember SBY, he rose to power based on his national experience as the ministers. While on the other hand, Jokowi rose to power in 2014 based on, among others, his experience as the leader of the city mayor, leader of the city or the mayor of the city, and also the governor of Jakarta. So both types of candidates rising from the local experiences like Ridwan Kamil and Ganjar, and also rising from the national experience like Prabowo or Anies, they can be both competitive in 2024. And that's why I think you see until today, the numbers of those candidates or potential candidates are not so much different from one another.
Pak Jayadi, you already mentioned earlier, in politics there's no such thing as too soon to start campaigning or start putting your name out there. Now, we know that some of the candidates have started to the term may be to steal the start, right? Now, do you think this is a correct strategy for them to do, or do you think this will not matter in the long run?
Correct or not, it depends on their awareness in looking at the timing. Yeah, as I said, that there is no such thing as too soon to start your preparation for politics or for running for office. But the things that the politicians need to be aware of is how appropriate is their tactics, their strategy in socializing themselves or in campaigning for them. In their preparation for running for office. For instance, for now, it is maybe not appropriate for you to put all of the banners all over the countries without connecting that to the current situations like the hardship that people are going through, economically speaking, the hardship that people are going through in terms of pandemic and so on and so forth. You need to make sure that what you are doing is connected to the people's daily life. Otherwise, you will be considered as, quote unquote, in Indonesian term, mencuri start. But again, there is no such thing as mencuri start in English, right? In English, mencuri start is translated into head start or start ahead, meaning that you start early, and that is actually okay as long as your strategy is not considered alien to the current situations that is being experienced by particularly the ordinary people.
All right, so whoever's running, names are names, but the names need the support of the parties. Pak Jayadi, how far do the characteristics of the supporting party influence voters' preference?
In the past, both in Indonesia and also elsewhere in the world, the most important factors is the figure, because there is such thing called coat tail effect. In an election where the legislative election and presidential elections are conducted concurrently, like in Indonesia, then the support for political parties will be affected by the support for the candidates. That means the political parties must be very careful in nominating the candidates. They need to find a candidate that can boost their support for the political parties. So not the other way around, yeah. So that's why I think all political parties now are busy to look at all of the potential candidates and try to match them with their situations in their internal situation in the political parties. Which candidate is good for them? Which candidate will not be affect them negatively, and so on and so forth. The challenges now is that most of the potential candidates who are now at the top 5 or top 10, most of them are non-political party affiliates. So that's why political parties seems to me needs more time to check all of the possibilities, so that when they nominate the candidate or a pair of candidates, it will not affect their support as a political parties negative.
Oh, Pak Jayadi, we hope there's no trouble with the connection. Just one last question. We were speaking about supporting political party behind the candidates. Now, do you view that the nationalist paired with religious party concept will still be relevant in the next election?
Yes, also adding to Amanda's question, compared to 2019, how different do you think 2024 is going to be? As we remember, in the last one, nationalist against religious was very tense, but the two candidates are now in the same side, on the same side. One joined the cabinet of one's presidency. So how does this affect the religious, the hardliner groups? Where are they going to go with whoever is going to get their support in 2024, Pak Jayadi?
it depends on at least two things. One is what is the configuration of political party, the coalitions of political parties. If, let's say, political parties that are considered more Islamic in terms of their orientation, all of them are in one camp. On the other side, most of the so-called nationalist political parties are on the other camp. Then there will be a kind of polarization like in 2014 or 2019. That's number one. The second factor that can be considered is the candidates that are going to compete. If one candidate is considered representing one types of religious orientation, while the other candidate is considered representing the other types of nationalist orientation, like in Jakarta second round of 2017 election, then the polarization like we saw in 2014 and 2019 will be here again. But I see that possibility is not that high in 2024. There are two other factors that we need to consider for 2024, which will be the difference compared to 2019, which is number one is that there is no incumbent in 2024. If there is no incumbent, there is a possibility of more competitive election and more candidates, not only two like in 2014 and 2019. Number two, as we have discussed before, that so far in the last 2 years of national surveys from many institutions, we see no candidates are dominating. No candidate is dominating the race, at least until now. That means there will be some competitive election, which will result in probably more than two candidates. Can be three or four, but more possibilities.
See how it goes, especially
with that kind of not by polarization, then the types of polarization we had in 2014 and 19 will not be happening again.
Okay, we'll see how it goes, especially the next set of surveys that will be released. How different will they be compared to the previous ones? We'll wrap it up for now. Thank you, Pak Jayadi, for joining us, Executive Director of the Indonesian Survey Institute, LSI, Jayadi Hanan, here joining us on Asia Prime.